All right, guys, pop quiz time. Here we go. Here's the question. Your team is down 17-0 with 13 seconds remaining in the half. It's 4th and 1 at the 15-yard line. What should you do? Here are your answer choices. A. Kick the field goal to make it a 2-score game. B. Run the football up the middle and use your last time out after you pick up the first down. Or C. Throw up a Hail Mary into the end zone with one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. All right, you guys got 12 seconds left. What's your response? Dun, 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 dun. All right, time's up. The correct answer is A. Kick the field goal to make it a 2-score game. Congratulations. If you answered A, you are officially smarter than Dan Campbell, or you were at least a better game manager than Mr. Dan Campbell. Just absolutely unbelievable. I saw this a few weeks ago in Chicago where we were down by 2 scores and Campbell did the exact same thing. 4th and short, decides to throw an out route, and instead of making it a 1-score game, we don't get any points, and the Bears go away to win by, go figure, 10 points. And that's where I think we're starting to see the first red flag of Dan Campbell. Not just the game management, but here's what I think is the problem. Because I think Dan Campbell understands what he should have done. Anyone with half a brain knows that's not the right decision that he made right before the half. This is the problem. Dan Campbell lets his emotion get in the way of logic. And this team rides too much on emotion, and I think that is a reflection of their head coach. Now listen, I want these guys to be themselves. I want Dan Campbell to be himself. But here's the thing. There's a philosophy out there called Stoicism. And Stoicism is the belief, not necessarily that you suppress your emotions, but that you feel your emotions, but you don't express it outwardly. You are prepared for the worst things to happen. You never get too high when something good happens. You're just always ready for whatever happens next. Essentially, it's not showing the emotions that you feel, instead being focused on what's the most important. And Bill Belichick is perfect at this. You notice Bill Belichick, every time that he wins the Super Bowl, the Patriots don't have a Super Bowl hangover. And every time after the press conference, he's the same exact person as he was game 1 in the season. And listen, if you think he's not excited about winning a Super Bowl, that's crazy. Of course he's excited. But he's at the podium and he's like, yeah, we played a great game, but we're going to be ready for next season. Just doesn't show much emotion. And he basically doesn't show all of what he's feeling. He doesn't wear his emotion on his sleeve. That's what I'll say. Because everybody feels emotion. That's part of being a human. But you don't wear it on your sleeve. Instead, it's a business-like approach of making the best decisions possible instead of going off of what feels good. And unfortunately, I think Dan Campbell is the opposite of that. And this is really the first sign that that's happening. You look at the way this team has responded this season. Every single time that you think, oh, we're ready to win a football game, we played great the previous week, we finally have a game that we can win, they fall flat on their face. So let's take a look at the schedule. So the first real game where you think, all right, this team actually has something is the Baltimore game where, they lost in the 66-yard field goal, kind of a fluke game. And everybody was thinking Dan Campbell is doing such a great job and that this team is ready to roll. And we play Chicago next week. Chicago's not that good. We have a great chance to win. And what happens? Play a very, very flat football game. Lost that game by 10 points. Poor coaching decisions in that game. Dig into the browsing history. I have a video on that one. And then the next week, everybody's upset about the Chicago game and Dan Campbell's poor coaching decisions. And then they come out and make a really gutsy move going for 2 late in the game, getting it, and then losing by 2 points off of a last-second field goal. But it was a great response to adversity, and you think, all right, this team's ready to go. And then they play Cincinnati. You think, all right, well, we didn't know Cincinnati was very good at the time, but still, we're all thinking, all right, this team is ready to roll. They're finally playing up to their capability. And then Cincinnati, they lay an egg. Then the next week, you think they're going to lose by 60 points to the Rams. They only lose by 9, and Dan Campbell called a great game. And then this game, I've never heard people talk so highly about an 0-7 team in my life. The whole local media was saying that this was going to be the week that the Detroit Lions won. And personally, I thought they had a great chance to win too. And then we obviously saw what happened. They played one of the worst games of the year. And that's the problem with this team. They ride too much on the roller coaster of emotion instead of focusing on the path in front of them. The whole identity of this team is emotion. You look at Dan Campbell making corny press conferences before the season. Not a lot to be worried about. You're 0-0. Then all of a sudden, after the Vikings game, starts crying. All right, whatever. Then after that, the Cincinnati game, now he's angry. And then kind of a slightly frustrated Dan Campbell after the Los Angeles game. And then coming into this game, just super flat. And I guarantee you Dan Campbell's going to be livid in the press conference. But that's the problem with this team. It just seems like they listen too much to the local radio talking about either how bad they are or how great they are. And they use that as motivation. And that's a problem. There's a big problem with using emotion as motivation because when you do that, you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. And this team seems to respond to the downs, but this team does not respond well to success. And it's pretty clear to me Dan Campbell doesn't either. It seems like if Dan Campbell isn't absolutely chewing them out or isn't absolutely livid going into the practice week, this team comes out flat. And every time this team seems to have a winnable opponent, they don't get up for the game. And yet again, it's a problem with the coaching staff not doing a good job of managing their emotions, letting their emotions affect this team, affect the practice the week after, the game. And the fact of the matter is this is a big concern for Dan Campbell. I think it's his first red flag. You look at the fact that this team is not talented. I wasn't expecting it to win a whole lot. But in a couple of years, this will be a much better roster. We have tons of draft capital. We're going to have a lot of cap space after a couple of years, where we kind of throw away the trash of the Quinn Tricia era. We're not paying a bunch of guys anymore. We don't have a bunch of dead cap space from Stafford, from Jamie Collins, Tavai, a bunch of other guys. This is going to be a better football team. But if we want to win a championship, Dan Campbell and this team has to do a better job of controlling its emotions. Instead, I encourage them to focus on stoicism. Focus on what Bill Belichick does. Never let emotion get in the way of your decision making or in the way of what's the most important. And unfortunately, this team seems to do that. And Jared Goff, I was really hoping Jared Goff would kind of be a stoic, but the real problem is Jared Goff doesn't really have any sort of fire lighting in his belly at all. And you got to have that. Because Belichick definitely has that. I'm not saying don't have that. You got to have that fire inside your belly, and it's clear this team does have it. The problem is it only ignites when something bad happens. When something good happens, it lights right out. And Jared Goff, it's never on. I mean, when you throw the football out of bounds on 4th and 10 and it's late in the game, you're not the quarterback of the future. I don't care if you have me and one of my best 5'3" friends as wide receiver. You throw the darn ball up in the end zone. That was unacceptable. This guy does not have what it takes to be a successful quarterback here, and I think we all knew that. But if Dan Campbell wants to last here, he's going to have to respond better to the wins and losses, to the good and to the bad. This team needs to learn how to handle success, because if this organization doesn't learn how to handle success, we'll get a little bit better, but it's going to be like the Quinn Tricia era 2.0. I'm just going to say it straight up. This is a red flag that needs to be addressed. And I'm concerned. I really am. I have a weird feeling this team plays Pittsburgh next week. I think we're going to play a great game next week. But this team is so cyclical that you can almost predict when they're going to play well and not based off of the results this season. The consistency is not there. And look, I know this isn't a talented football team, but that doesn't mean you can't come out and give everything you got every week, because this team isn't. I'm just going to be straight up. Today was absolutely unacceptable. One of the most embarrassing losses in team history. And the local media is going to be raging on them again, and the team's going to be fired up for practice next week, and then they're going to play a close game against Pittsburgh. Oh my gosh. It's frustrating. This has been a very frustrating week of football, but needs to be addressed. All right. Thank you all for watching. Next week, Michigan plays Indiana. See if they can respond to that devastating loss to Michigan State. Jim Harbaugh, I think every game is a must-win at this point, and we'll see what happens. All right. Take care. Bye.